before we dive into today's twisted true crime tale, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the truth isn't always what it seems, especially when love, lies, and blood are involved. Now, let's begin. Sandra had been married for 13 years. 13 years of birthdays, anniversary dinners, PDA meetings, family vacations, and quiet Sunday mornings. She thought she knew everything about her husband, James Walker, his favorite coffee order, how he took his eggs, the subtle twitch in his eye when he was lying about eating the last piece of cake. But what she didn't know was that James Walker had another home, another woman, another family. And when Sandra found out, she didn't just uncover a secret. She uncovered a crime scene. Sandra Walker was the kind of woman people looked up to. A strong, resilient mother of two, known for her generous heart and loving smile. She lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a peaceful neighborhood lined with trimmed hedges and picket fences. James, her husband, was a financial consultant who traveled twice a month for client meetings in Raleigh. He was charming, attentive, and never missed an anniversary. To outsiders, they were the perfect couple. But Sandra had started noticing the cracks. It was small things at first. A shirt she didn't recognize in the laundry. Credit card charges from restaurants she'd never been to. Phone calls he always took in the garage, with the door closed. When she asked, James would smile. "You're overthinking it, babe. You always do." The unraveling began on a rainy Thursday morning. Sandra was doing laundry when James's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. He had left it behind in a rush. Sandra, always respectful of privacy, didn't mean to snoop, but then she saw the message. "Pick up milk for Emily. She has ballet tonight. Red heart, Ratch. Emily? Ballet? Who was Rachel?" Sandra's heart raced. Hands trembling, she scrolled up the message thread, and what she found crushed her. Photos. Selfies of James with a little girl, about 6 years old, strawberry blonde curls. In one, he was kissing her on the forehead as she opened a birthday gift. And then, "Happy 7th anniversary, love. I still remember our first kiss on the rooftop." 7 years? Sandra dropped the phone like it burned. She didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, Sandra became her own detective. She hired a private investigator named Marcus Reed. Within a week, she had the truth. James Walker had a second home in Raleigh, where he lived part-time with Rachel Jennings and their daughter, Emily. He had married Rachel under the alias Daniel Carter. Somehow, he had built and maintained 2 separate lives, 2 mortgages, 2 sets of family photos, and 2 versions of himself. Marcus also uncovered that James had drained over $40,000 from Sandra's retirement account, transferring it to Daniel Carter's bank account. But it wasn't just betrayal, it was fraud. And when Sandra finally confronted him, things turned terrifying. Sandra waited until James came home from his business trip. She sat at the kitchen table. On the counter were the printed messages, photos, bank records, a manila folder labeled James Walker, a.k.a. Daniel Carter. James froze when he saw it. "You want to explain," she said, voice cold. "Or should I start with Rachel?" He tried to talk, deny, then beg. He cried, said he was sorry, said he loved her more, said Rachel meant nothing. He promised he'd fix it. But Sandra had heard enough. "You chose your fantasy," she said. "Now you'll face reality." She gave him a choice. Leave and never return. Or she go to police, the IRS, and Rachel. James left, but not quietly. A week later, Sandra filed for divorce. She also pressed charges for financial fraud. Then one night, while her sons were asleep, Sandra's doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting anyone. When she opened the door, there was Rachel, the other woman, tears in her eyes, a child's toy in her hand. "He lied to me too," she whispered. Rachel had found out. Sandra hadn't contacted her. James had. But that night, James was also there. He had followed Rachel, believing she'd gone to betray him. In a fit of rage, he burst into the house with a hammer. What followed was chaos. James hit Sandra in the shoulder, shattering her collarbone. Rachel tried to stop him, screaming, shielding Sandra with her own body. He turned on her, Sandra crawled to the kitchen and grabbed the only thing she could reach, a carving knife. And in a moment of blinding panic and pain, she stabbed him once in the back, then again and again. By the time police arrived, called by neighbors who heard the screams, James Walker was dead. The man with 2 names, 2 wives, 2 lives. His blood pooled across the hardwood floor of the house he had built on lies. The courts ruled it as self-defense. Neither Sandra nor Rachel served jail time. The case became a national headline. Husband's double life ends in double betrayal and death. Sandra eventually moved out of home. Unable to stay where the blood had dried, she focused on her son's therapy and rebuilding what remained of her life. Rachel moved to another state with her daughter, Emily. The 2 women stayed in touch, bonded forever by pain and revelation. Sandra never remarried, but every year, on the anniversary of that night, she writes a single sentence in her journal: "I loved a man who didn't exist." If you found this story shocking, heartbreaking, or impossible to forget, subscribe and share it. True crime reveals not only the darkest corners of others' lives, but sometimes the ones closest to home. Until next time, stay safe and trust your gut.